Okay, this is AnnMarie. She came to me about 3 months ago with a number of chronic health issues that she was hoping she could maybe use food as her medicine, along with other lifestyle changes, to help get her to where she's at today. So I'm really excited to introduce you guys. I'll let Ann tell you more about herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is AnnMarie. I am 46 years old, just recently 46. Married, 2 children, college student, high school student, couple puppies. I work full-time as a nurse care manager. So Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Live at home with my husband by ourselves at this point of our life because both kids are kind of gone and here and there. Wanted to dive into a new eating lifestyle to see if it could help with, as Karli said, all my medical, stomach issues, etc.
Yes, so AnnMarie has been suffering with chronic illnesses for the majority of her adult life. Things like Hashimoto's and celiac and lactose intolerance. She recently had acquired some higher cholesterol levels as well as her allergies. What did your diet typically consist of prior to starting this program, AnnMarie?
So prior to starting this diet, I felt like I wasn't on the worst diet compared to, I think, a lot of Americans. I would watch what I eat. If you ask my husband, I ate too healthy even prior, according to him. But I would eat oatmeal, eggs in the morning, fruit, yogurt with fruit or granola, protein shakes, different things for breakfast. Lunch was usually a salad or a chicken salad or tuna salad. Tried to cut out bread a lot of the time. Would eat a healthier cracker with it if I wanted some crunch. Occasionally some chips. Would throw in a cookie for my sweet tooth after lunch. Would have coffee in the morning, probably 1 to 2 cups a day. Dinners, protein, some kind of chicken, meat, a lot of chicken, fish, sushi, steak, a roast occasionally, a pork roast, whatever the case may be. And then weekends might be a little crazier, going out to eat, snacks, buffalo chicken dip at a party, all of those yummy things that we all love and overeat. And then alcohol, a few glasses of wine or cocktails with friends. Definitely had a big sweet tooth. Love sweets, love cake, love muffins. Probably more than just plain bread itself, but with my celiacs, all of that has been very hard anyway. So you're always trying to find something that you can have that you're not restricted to that has to be wheat free. So
Absolutely. So starting something like this, were you afraid of feeling even more deprived, having to cut the meat out and the dairy and so on and so forth?
Yes, I was a little afraid in the beginning. I was like, okay, I was trying to watch a lot of videos prior to speaking with you in that initial consultation. So I had been watching other vegan lifestyle eating videos, plant-based eating videos, just to see what I eat in a days and, ideas and like, okay, I could eat that. That looks good. I could eat that. And then, yes, had lots of family members, including my husband, say, you already don't eat this, and this now. What are you going to eat when you do this? The trees and grass outside?
But how do you feel? Do you feel deprived? Do you feel like you're not eating an abundance of food?
I think when I started, I was so gung-ho and so determined to be like, give me, like I'm a nurse, I'm anal, I'm, type A, tell me what to do, give me the plan, I follow the rules. Tell me what the rules are. And I very, very quickly saw great results within days of being on this new change of eating. So I couldn't deny that it was helping me, like by day 5.
Right.
I dropped pounds, my stomach issues, which we'll throw it out there, chronic constipation, huge issue. I know other people out there probably have it too. And it very quickly, my body responded to this way of eating and felt better. So I really couldn't say I don't want to keep going because this isn't working, because it was.
Right. So, it was in your face, right? Like, what's better motivation than that?
Right.
Okay. So she already alluded to some of her motivation behind this, but did you want to elaborate a little bit? on why you wanted to start this type of program and what results you were hoping to achieve?
Sure. So I was chronic constipation, going along with my thyroid issues, and I probably had it since I was a kid all my life. I remember on and off having issues. Had seen GI had tried medications, they did not work. Do this, eat that. Oh, when I found out I was finally diagnosed 2 years ago with the celiacs, it was, oh, do the celiac-free diet, you'll probably be fine. That didn't make a change either. So I was taking over-the-counter medicine to treat it, which was never comfortable if anyone out there knows what that involves, and having to go to a job and not be at home all the time. So that was one big thing. And then I also was just gaining weight more than I had my whole life besides being pregnant with my kids. And working out every day and thinking I'm working out enough and eating one little thing and being up 4 pounds in one day. So I wanted to drop some pounds, feel healthier, have a stomach that felt healthier, and see what else it would help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. The possibilities are endless. I like that mentality. Yes, I was in the same position when I was diagnosed with celiac disease. I was on the gluten-free diet for 5 years with barely any improvements in any of my symptoms. So I had to take it into my own hands and go against my dietitian's directions to eat things like Skittles and Pringles and all those wonderfully delicious foods that I'm sure she was being endorsed, by those companies when she was being educated on, what kind of advice to give me. But also my doctors had no idea how to help me, and my doctor herself has celiac disease. So that was really discouraging. So anyway, yeah, it wasn't until I came across this diet as well that I was able to fully embrace and regain my health. So I'm really fortunate to be able to help other people in the same situation and bypass those years of suffering, that AnnMarie might have taken to come across this information on her own. So I'm super excited for you. I really hope you stay in touch with me and let me know what kind of progress you see in the future.
Yes, me too.
Just something else I want to mention real quick is that AnnMarie was finding that she was consistently injuring herself when she would exercise. She came to me thinking that it was an exercise problem. She needed to up her weights a little bit. She needed to do more cardio, but that was not the issue at all. This woman is incredibly fit and she's very active. It was not an exercise problem. It was a dietary problem. And I'm really glad that we were able to kind of tweak things a bit to get not only her regimen in order with those 2 basic strategies, but also her mindset. So now today she's very much open-minded to, focusing on nutrition primarily and the exercise secondarily. Okay, so what does a typical day's worth of meals look like now?
So a typical day now is water in the morning. I do try and keep a 12-hour fasting, 12 to 14. 14 more on weekends, but try to keep that longer window if I can of not putting anything in my stomach besides water. And then breakfast is some kind of oats, so usually oat groats with a whole cup of berries, cinnamon, nutmeg, seasonings to really spruce it up. I will throw some beans in with the oat groats as well to get that in there. Lunch is either a salad filled with a large salad. I will tell everyone out there, I think a salad. You will get better at making salads. You will think of all kinds of things to put on them and potatoes. And I think that's the one thing that I found very surprising was oh my gosh, I can eat a lot of potatoes and I can eat a lot of these other things. And it's not you had how many potatoes? It's okay. Because the rest of your calories in your food is not a lot.
Right.
It's vegetables. So a big salad or a soup or a lentil chili or some kind of other dish because of going to work. I was already packing my lunch, so I just needed to make sure I had everything packed and ready to go for the day. And then whatever I didn't have for lunch was probably the opposite of what I would have for dinner then. And just trying to get good at coming up with new recipes and figuring things out. So.
And what did you replace the cookies and the chips and the snacks and the candy? Right. She was a big candy girl, just like myself.
Yes, candy. So I, believe it or not, in the beginning, I didn't miss the sweets as much as I actually missed salt, which I was very surprised at. So then it was trying to find out ways with seasonings, which Karli helped me, and actually putting more heat in my food to help curb that salt missing. So, and I just would make a smoothie when I was like, all right, oh, I kind of want something, and really like making banana ice cream, an ice cream. Just, whipping some fruit up in with the soy milk and just, okay, this is like ice cream, and I'm lactose intolerant. So it wasn't like ice cream was a fun time before anyway, since giving it up. So yes, after you've given up the sweets, and then when you do and you think a banana is super, super sweet, like that's when your palate has changed.
Absolutely. So like AnnMarie was discussing, she was able to use, when she says heat, she means things like red pepper flakes and cayenne pepper and different jalapenos and things of that nature to really spice up her food. That actually takes away the salt craving, believe it or not. It has a very similar location in our sensory real estate. So it kind of takes the place of the salty flavor. But some other things she used were garlic powder and onion powder. Those are great substitutes when it comes to salt. You can kind of trick your brain a little bit until you're in a place where you don't need to do that anymore because you've adapted accordingly. So obviously you enjoy the food, right? And as we mentioned, you're not feeling deprived. This is sustainable for you?
Yes, this is sustainable for me. I think it just pushes me to just look into different recipes, and during the week it's easy. It's just for work it's just easier to be like, I have these batch made things, and for the next 4 days, and that's just me. Not everybody's like that, but I think I can do that for a couple days in a row and it doesn't bother me. I can, like, if I made it and I liked it and it was good, I can eat it for 4 days and then be like, okay, now what am I going to make for the next 2 days? Or when I'm home, I'll make something more involved that's freshly made versus already pre-made.
Sure, and we can spice up our leftovers. There is nothing wrong with leftovers. I eat, just like AnnMarie, the same thing day after day and then switch it up from time to time. Or I'll add, let's say, a potato or a sweet potato or some grains or some legumes or some different seasonings to kind of make it variable from the day before or the next day. So you don't have to feel like you're in a monotonous pattern of boredom. You can make it just as enticing and exciting as your old familiar foods. This is my favorite. So what noticeable health changes have you experienced thus far?
Health changes. So obviously, number one was I no longer take any over-the-counter medication for my bowel issues. So that has been amazing. I have not taken anything for almost 3 months. So
I need to pause you 1 second. She stopped taking her chronic over-the-counter OTCs that she was taking on a regular basis in the first week she was eating these foods. I just wanted to point that out. Sorry to interrupt.
No, because nothing else has worked in the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years of me trying different things and trying other meds and going to the doctor and, them saying, read a book or do this or try this. So yes, that was number one, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Not feeling bloated and gross and puffy and crampy and stomach pains from eating all the other foods that my body clearly didn't really love to have. And then obviously the weight loss, which was nice. And, I'm sure a lot of it had to do with all that sodium and everything else in that first week, because it was like a great drop, but it was also a great thing to really spur you to keep going. So it was a good thing to happen for both ends. Just the energy and I get tired at night when it's time to go to bed, but I'm not like, oh, I need a coffee at 3 p.m. just to get through the rest of the day. I'm up for the hours I'm up, and my body's like, I want to go to bed for my 8 hours of sleep at night. And I get up and I'm up for the day, and it feels good. So, I think my skin has gotten like more glowy and clear, and just, I think overall, just a lot of different things that you don't even notice, and then someone says something to you. And I'm like, well, I'm eating vegan plant-based now. So
Great. Okay, so I just wanted to add that she actually exceeded her weight loss goal by 8 pounds. She came to me hoping to lose 10. She lost 18 in 3 months, and she already clearly does not have a lot of weight to lose. So that's pretty incredible. She doesn't really know what her set point is, so she's just kind of following along with the protocol until her body finds that equilibrium. So we're really excited to see where you end up, AnnMarie. She's incredibly tall, so she had a difficult time losing this weight on her own. The other thing I wanted to mention, that she had so much energy that she, prior to working together, she had tried to incorporate a regular strength training routine into her regimen time and time again, and found herself just giving it up and, going and doing something else on the weekends instead, or just not finding the time. Like, we all have excuses for some things or another in our lives. So this gave her the energy and the stamina and the desire and the motivation to continue a consistent strength training regimen, and she has nailed it. So after you lose the weight, it's really important to stay toned and functional and independent throughout our aging years, right? That's really what we're all after. Being able to take care of ourselves and not rely on anybody else when we get to that age when most people in this country have that sort of circumstance. The last thing I wanted to mention was that only within 2 weeks of eating these plant-based foods, she had already reported that she was noticing her taste perception had heightened for these naturally sweet and naturally salty foods. So she could taste the salt in things like broccoli and celery, and she could taste the sweetness in things like zucchini and, of course, sweet potatoes and all those wonderful starchy foods. So this is not something that people have to, quote unquote, suffer with. It is literally something that you just have to give yourself enough time to adjust and adapt to, like with any new skill. So trust your body. It knows what's best for you. Now let's talk about the opposite. What were the major challenges taking on this transition so far?
Well, I thought obviously giving up the sweets was a challenge in the beginning. And then it just got to the point where I was like, I still have not touched a piece of candy. Like, I have made a vegan dessert, but I have not touched a piece of candy, which I'm very proud of. And even when I look at it, I'm like, nope. And I live with a husband who has a case of Reese's bars, their cups, Reese's cups, in our cabinet. So I see it every time I go in there. But yes, have not touched them. That was a challenge, trying to initially explain to people why I'm doing it. Anything different is scary. And when people don't know, it's just, they're just not, they're not willing to know either. And they want to, pick at it and say, why are you doing that? And blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you just get to the point where you're like, you know what? If you really want to know, you can read up on it yourself and see all the, this is for me. I'm not making anyone else do this. This is for me. It has helped me in a lot of ways, and it's working for me. So somebody else would like to know, be happy to tell them. But otherwise, they can figure it out when they're ready to figure it out. So I think initially just telling some people, but then once my immediate circle all knew, it was like, oh, okay, what are you going to eat? And I'd be like, I'll just bring my own stuff. Don't worry about me. So that was fine. I think worried about going out, I think that was another thing, being social and having to maneuver that. So using Karli's tips of being prepared, eating before. If I'm going to someone's house, I'll bring a veggie tray or I'll bring fruit. And just knowing that I have something there, or having something in my purse that I knew that if I was really, going to be hungry or craving something, or I wasn't going to be able to eat anything there, that I had something. So, and I think too, wondering, would I be able to do the 90 days initially? Like, that's a long time. Am I going to, I don't think I've ever been, besides having to be gluten-free, which wasn't a choice once I found out with my celiacs, but 3 months is a long commitment to say, like, all right, I'm in it for the 3 months. We'll see what happens. So I would say those are probably the biggest challenges that popped up at different times.
I remember that. You were very apprehensive. It's always interesting to see who wants to have a longer expectation. Like, they were hoping for like 4 months, 5 months, 6 months with me. But AnnMarie was like 3. That's a long time.
90 days.
So it typically takes anywhere between, on average, 66 to 90 days to incorporate new habits or get rid of old ones. It also coincidentally takes about that much time to adjust your taste buds to a new food preference. So I think it is a fantastic amount of time to work with somebody, because I find that that's the amount of support that people need to really use this information and then move on their own. And they don't have to keep coming back and looking for more resources. They can just know exactly where to go, how to implement these different strategies. So the only thing I wanted to add to AnnMarie's challenges was that she obviously has a very damaged intestinal tract. So when it came to digesting things like legumes, the lentils, the beans, split peas, all those things, she was consistently experiencing a lot of bloating and gas and discomfort. This is so common for people, but I don't think that's reason for you to completely shy away from legumes, because you really have to build that flora and that ability for those healthy gut bugs to thrive. And that takes time. You have to adjust. It doesn't take long. It can take 3 to 10 days max. But for somebody like AnnMarie, who was seriously suffering with that erosion in her intestine from all the damage that the gluten, autoimmune reaction had been afflicting for so many years, that she had to go at this a little more carefully and systematically, making sure that she was very consistent and intentional about the amounts of legumes she was including into her meals day by day. And she was very careful to soak them for long periods of times and rinse them multiple times prior to cooking and after cooking, as well as, did you ever end up adding baking soda?
No.
That's another trick that I had another client of mine try, and she said it worked, but eventually she got off of that too. So there are ways around this, and until you adjust accordingly. You don't have to feel like this is, oh, I get gassy when I eat beans, so I could never be plant-based. It isn't. It's not like that at all. So how are your cravings for processed and animal foods now compared to the initial weeks on the program?
Barely there to non-existent, I guess. Every once in a while, I'll be around something, or I'll be like, because you smell it, or, I loved bacon. Haven't had bacon in 3 months. So that was something where I was somewhere and I smelled it and I was like, oh, that smells really good. But not enough that I was going to eat it. So it's just kind of like hits that little memory in your head and you're like, oh, I remember that.
That might change too as time goes on. I used to have the same exact response, not to bacon. Bacon always grossed me out. But to similar things that would be cooked in the same household. After a while, it starts to kind of gross you out and it starts to smell completely, it smells the same, but it almost smells different in your brain. So it triggers a completely different aversive response as opposed to, oh, I wish I could have that. So you might, get there eventually where you're not feeling left out or missing anything, and it's completely, copacetic. Okay, so what do you still crave or miss the most? Is it the bacon?
Maybe bacon. I would say here or there. I'm very surprised that I don't actually miss meat as much as I thought I would. Like I am very surprised. Like I kind of was thinking like, yeah, what would I do at the end of the 90 days? Would I try something little and just have it? And it's kind of just like almost out of sight, out of mind. Like you just get used to what you're eating and then you're like, I don't need that. Clearly I'm feeling better with what I am eating. So why do I need to chance putting that back into my system again right now? So I just, you really kind of, it's the longer you're away from it, the easier it is to just be like, it's okay. I don't need it.
Okay, so obviously you see yourself maintaining this lifestyle long term.
Yes, that is my intention.
Okay. And I just want to touch on the social implications real quick because you found a number of different strategies that you were able to utilize. I know we already touched on the dining out. Would you tell us a little bit more about how you would go away for the weekends and stay with your family for your kids' hockey games?
Yeah, so I just would try and, pack oatmeal, of course. And yes, maybe I'm not making the oat groats, which I would cook differently. There's lots of ready to go gluten-free oatmeal that you can make. A little hot tea kettle, to steam your water if you don't have access to water, trying to make some things or, even bake things ahead of time. So maybe some of the things that I wasn't normally eating but are a little bit easier to take with me, like some raw cashew nuts and some like no sugar added dried fruit, fresh fruit cut up, vegetables that weren't going to go bad, putting things in a cooler bag. But I think that's one of the biggest things with this is that you have to have food ready to eat when you're hungry. You can't not have something to eat when you're going to be hungry, because that's when you're going to be the most ready to, want to cheat and grab something that you're not supposed to have. So you have to be prepared. And, I learned to grocery shop at least twice a week now, because I'm buying berries and I'm buying this and I'm buying that. And you go through it quick and you eat a lot of it. And, fresh food, you got to go restock up.
I was going to ask you if you had any advice for somebody considering this lifestyle, but it sounds like you pretty much have covered it, unless there's something that you'd like to discuss further.
No, I think just being prepared with things to eat. And I think you really need to be prepared and invested that you're really going to give this 100% and try. And I think that's hard for a lot of people, especially if you've never done anything restricting in your diet before, or that big of a change in your diet. Like, watch the videos, read about it, talk to people. Try not to set things up for failure. Hopefully you're in a household with someone who's going to be supportive of you and not, yes, my husband would joke with me, but never once was he like, here, try to eat this instead. Like, he knew I was trying to do it, and he was trying to be as encouraging as he could. So I think you just really have to be prepared, and you really need to give it an honest go and not cheat right from the get-go, because my first week was amazing and I had amazing results, and that's what pushed me to continue. So
I'm so glad you said that, because so many people don't take that for what it's worth. That could really make or break your entire journey. If you don't give it 100% in that first week, not all the time, but most likely you will give up and this isn't working. I'm hungry all the time. I'm not satiated. I'm not fulfilled flavor wise. There's so many different things that people find that this will never work for me because A, B, or C. But you really have to give it your all, and you won't know what you're capable of until you do. So just dive in. You have given such wonderful advice. This was a really great interview. I'm so glad you decided to do this with me. I know it's a little scary or a little uncomfortable at first, but I think it's so important, especially to show people suffering from Hashimoto's and suffering from celiac disease. Your disease may be a lot more manageable or even reversible than you are currently aware, and why not give it 100% and teach your body how to repair itself and give it the proper materials in order to do so before you completely write yourself off like, oh, this is just the way I have to deal with things for the rest of my life, because it's not always the case. So AnnMarie, thank you so much for joining me. Let us know how it goes, and if you reach your 20-pound goal for Christmas.
2 pounds away.
All right.
Thanks, Karli.